Hello and welcome. My name is Nicholas Hall, founder and president of Graham's Foundation, and I'm your host for today's healthcare industry chat with the creators of the TurtleTub bathing system, Dana and Marshall Denton. Before we get started, I just want to share that I had founded Graham's Foundation in 2009 in memory of my son who died as a result of his premature birth. Our mission is to inform and guide parents of preemies so that they may confidently navigate the journey of prematurity. And we provide support through our care package program, our Preemie parent mentor program, the My Preemie mobile app, and our online community. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dana Denton to the program, and know that her husband Marshall is going to be behind the camera, kind of working the camera today. Hi, Dana. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And I will share. I'm broadcasting today from Harlem, New York. So for those listening, you may hear a honk. You may hear alarm. You hear a lot of stuff when you're in New York. So just letting people know ahead of time. So, well, again, welcome. And I wanted to get started, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about. I know we're going to talk about the TurtleTub bathing system, but it was invented, I think, out of real world experience, right? And so you as a pediatric physical therapist, and then in the NICU as well. So maybe we're going to jump in and talk about the product later, but I'd be curious to know, if you could share a little bit more with our community about your background, your experience, and then we'll, where the idea where the light bulb went off for you.
Sure. So I am a pediatric physical therapist, and I've been working in pediatrics for 25 years. Started in an outpatient clinic, which is for infants or kids really from 0 to 21, and then went to early intervention, which is the younger children from 0 to 3. So I worked there for a while. And then and I kept feeling like the best place really to intervene to help with long-term outcomes is earlier. So that's how I ended up in the NICU. And basically in the NICU, I'm part of what's called a developmental team. So that's physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. And we are involved all things infant development, whether that be positioning or feeding or movement, and primarily, honestly, is parent involvement. That was is the biggest component of what we do in the NICU. But when you work with preterm infants and you've seen them throughout their course, and research too, it becomes pretty evident that the experiences that an infant has in the NICU, they carry with them. And so we try to minimize the stressful impact of the experiences that they have in the NICU. And one of those experiences is having a bath. And swaddle bathing is one of those techniques where you can change an experience to be something very positive, both for the infant and for the family. And so we had actually been doing swaddle bathing in our unit for years prior to when we started the TurtleTub. And we needed a bathtub to do swaddle bathing. And we scoured the internet, we looked around, and we just couldn't find anything that was appropriate for a small preterm infant. There were very specific criteria that I wanted, that I knew about from working with infants. I knew that it had to have a lot of support so that the families could do the bathing. We knew that the water temperature was important. We needed to make sure that infection control was satisfied. So there were a lot of criteria that we needed to make sure that this process of swaddle bathing could actually work. And so my husband is an engineer, an entrepreneur, and he has experience with taking products and implementing them and getting them out to market. So with the two of us combined, we were able to come up with the TurtleTub and an education outlet and a distribution network so that hospitals could have the tools that they needed to be able to do swaddle bathing. So it started with the tub and then kind of morphed into the entire system. So hopefully by being really good listeners to what hospitals need, what families need, over time we've kind of fine-tuned the product and the whole system so that whatever concerns or problems a hospital might have, we have a solution, because it makes a huge impact for an infant how they get a bath.
Yeah, and I was sharing that, my recollection. So my twins were born so Thanksgiving Day 2006. So just give you an idea of kind of the time frame. And over the years, I've learned about the different, frankly, the important work that that you and your peers do, and how important. I think when early on, I was so focused on kind of life or death, and what's the blood gas today, and what's the oxygenation level, and those types of things, which are really critical for the day to day. But then you learn and you appreciate. I certainly have, of the long-term impact
Mm-hmm.
of all the sights, the sounds, the experiences that the babies have. Because if they're born as early as a lot of our babies are born,
Mm-hmm.
they're still supposed to be in the womb,
Yeah.
and that's an extremely important place to be. And you can't, while you can't replicate that, obviously, being sensitive and aware is incredibly important. So I'm curious. I was saying, my recollection of bathing my daughter was, just the plastic, and just telling her to be really gentle. The skin is fragile, and that just pat, kind of. It wasn't much really beyond that. So I'm sort of, I'm really interested to know, and we can get to the next slide, but I'm interested to know sort of what your kind of originally, before the TurtleTub, what were you using in your unit, and what were the different parts of it? And you can show through, maybe through showing us the TurtleTub, what were some of the pieces that you felt were significant enough that it was worth the effort, right? Because I mean, there are a lot of things. People get ideas. We all get
Right.
ideas every day to make something
Right.
better or faster or whatever, and it's like, yeah, well, but maybe what we're doing, maybe this is good enough, or this is going to
Right.
be fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but obviously, there were some things that you felt that were compelling enough, that were different, that made enough of a difference that it was worth a search, and then not only the search, but also the development of the product itself. So if you wouldn't mind, just
Yeah, no, absolutely. So there's a
yeah,
few different ways that babies are bathed in the hospital, and one is, or there's a myriad, honestly, which is
yeah,
one of the things, is we're trying to streamline how infants are bathed. But one way, as you were mentioning, is just a pink basin, which doesn't have supports, and it's really hard for a new parent, and especially a new parent of a very tiny, fragile infant, to do a bath like that. The TurtleTub is also used in well baby units, because they too, how they get a bath and the temperature regulation that they have is important. And those infants typically have what's called a sponge bath. So they just put it chucks down and they scrub the baby down, or they might rinse them under the sink. And we were using a very large kind of Walmart type tub, and they had, the supports were inadequate. It had foam, which gets dirty, and it had a drain, which meant you can't clean it very well. So they were with the goals being, we want this infant secure and safe. We want to be able to have the parents involved. We want to make sure that the infants and that are safe in terms of infection control. So those were really the criteria that we had, knowing already that swaddle bathing is a very well-researched way to do a bath, and that we know the infants will be happier. We know the infants will be warmer. So we just need to make sure that we have a way that hospitals can do this well-researched practice.
So can you show us, like, when you say support,
Mm-hmm.
where on the Turtle, where on your product is the support? To be honest with you, I don't remember a swaddle bath at all. Maybe it happened and it's completely.
No, most likely it did not, because this is it is a new, even though the research is older, it's having it actually be a practice is really just starting to occur. And I think it was primarily because there wasn't really a good way to do it. And so we're trying to fill that niche of making it a good way to do it. And as you mentioned before, being in the womb, as part of the developmental team, that's really a way that we do a lot of education, is imagining what type of sensory experiences an infant would have been having in utero all the way up until 40 weeks. At 40 weeks, infants are born all over the world and have many different experiences, and they thrive. But up until 40 weeks, infants in utero have very similar experiences. And so those are the type that we like to give to the infant, where they're swaddled, they're contained, they're flexed, and they hear their parent's voice all the time. So this swaddle bathing technique takes the bathing concept and moves it into, what is a developmentally appropriate type of experiences for those babies. And I'll show you what the features here of the tub.
Okay.
And I'll move my little baby, and we'll switch cameras so you can see a little bit better of what it does.
Okay.
So you can see here, once it focuses, it just takes a second. Hopefully it'll focus in.
Yep.
Sometimes I have to move out of the screen. Ta-da!
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
But anyway, as you can see, it has really high sides on either side, and it has two ribs, so the really tiny babies and then the bigger babies.
Okay. Yep.
It has a very deep seat, so once the infants sit in there, they're not going anywhere. And then we have a temperature indicator at the bottom, so we want the water temperature to be around 101 degrees. And then we have a nameplate for when it's in the hospital. The baby's name can go on here, and then the baby takes the tub home. Or if the tub is used on more than one infant, then we have a liner that fits over the top to make sure that the tub is clean and safe for use from infant to infant. So those are really the primary features. As you notice, there's no nooks and crannies. It's really easy to clean. There's no drain. There's nothing that can get caught, where bacteria can get caught. So, and then the system kind of morphed into, this is a tub or a cart that we use in the hospital setting. So the tub's not going anywhere, and you can wheel the cart bedside to bedside so that there's like a mobile bathing station. And then we've gone from there, the swaddle bathing part, how that works. Is this an okay time to talk about that? The whole concept?
Yeah, I was curious, when you're talking about the support, are you referencing like the sort of the shape on the sides, so it kind of like holds the baby in it?
Here, if I move the blanket, you can see how the baby fits in here super snug. Actually, it's white on white. Maybe you can't see very well. But as you can see, the baby's little bottom fits almost in a little well. And then you have sides on either, a high rib on either side and a really deep seat. So that baby's not going anywhere, not going laterally, not going down. So it makes it really easy for a new parent to not have to worry about the baby, being safe in the tub. They can interact with their baby, and they can just have fun doing an infant massage during the tub. The baby's okay.
Yeah, no, I can just imagine a parent wanting to be able to we brought a lot of stuff home that we didn't need, but that would have been really nice.
Right.
Sure. And the temperature, the thermometer, that's brilliant too, because you really worry about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Scalding, et cetera. Yeah. And so now it's time to show the swaddling part.
Right. So what you do for a swaddle bath is you swaddle the infant, and then you put them in the water. So when you're using the TurtleTub, you fill the tub with water, typically to about the height of the seat. And you just want to swirl the water around to make sure that as you're doing hot and cold water, that the water has nice even temperature. And then the indicator will light up so you know where the water temperature is. And then you swaddle the baby and put them into the tub. And their feet can just be free. You don't need to, swaddle their feet in like you would for sleep. They can just be free. And then you basically just you wash the baby's face first. I like to use just a little washcloth, starting inside out on one eye and a new piece of the cloth inside out on the other eye. And then the nice thing about swaddle bathing is they're warm and contained throughout the whole bath time. You take out one arm, put a little soap, a little cleanser on your hand, nice firm touch. You were talking about light, wispy touch, but if you imagine a baby in utero, they're pushing hard against the womb. It's nice, firm, deliberate touch. So when you're doing a bath with a preterm infant, it's not really light and wispy. It's more firm and deliberate type of touch that you would do during a bath. And then you just rinse that arm, tuck it in, do the same with the other arm, unswaddle a little to wash the baby's belly, swaddle them back up. You just work your way down. You take out their little leg, nice firm touch, wash their leg. I like to spend time massaging their feet in the tub because as those of you who've had an infant in the NICU, a lot of kind of unfortunate, painful things happen to their feet.
Yeah,
heel sticks or
heel sticks like just.
I know. Even the oxygen monitor, when they take that off, it's not really a pleasant feel.
Yeah.
So it's nice to kind of counteract that with some positive touch on the bottom of their feet. Go to the other side. You can roll the baby to their side to wash their back. And then at the very end, you rinse their head with some clean water. So in a very fast nutshell, that's the idea of swaddle bathing. We have videos if anyone's interested in knowing the full process of how to do a bath. But as you can see, the infants are warm, they're contained, and because they're happy, it helps bring the confidence to the parents in that they can give their baby a bath. We strongly encourage that the parents are taught how to do a bath so that that can be an activity that they do while they're in the NICU. With pictures, of course, you want to have a picture of that first bath with the baby happy, contained. So, it's a very infant friendly and parent friendly, not just product, but just process all the way around.
Well, I think as you mentioned, the work that you and your and other neonatal therapists, it's important developmentally, but then also a lot of the work that you do is helping to support and empower parents, because we need to be reminded that we're actually parents, because so often we don't feel like we're parents because we feel very limited in what we're able to do. And so being able to actually participate in an experience that is simple but incredibly important to the newborn, especially the preemie baby. So I'm curious, from a product development perspective, what were some of the any particular challenges that you had to overcome from a product development perspective, development, manufacturing, etc. And I'm also curious, because you talked about that there's evidence-based research, but I know from talking to other folks that have developed products, to go from evidence to actually it being a standard practice in any setting is probably sometimes it's generations. So I am, I'm kind of curious what, if any, have been, if any particular challenges in terms of with just dealing with hospital systems, et cetera. So I've got a few other questions, but I'll start with those two first.
Yeah, no, that's a lot. The last question, the hospital systems, they're tough because oftentimes there's a disconnect between the clinicians who are actually providing the care and then the person that's involved in purchasing. And so that's really difficult to bridge that gap. Yeah. But we're trying and we're working it out. And we do a lot of education going through. We do trade shows in order to educate to educate the nurses and developmental specialists on the product itself, and hoping to show them how the product can change their practice and better care for the infants, so that they can then have influence on purchasing. But it's difficult. It's difficult. And then in terms of the manufacturing, kind of the glitches there and the difficulties there, I might actually hand that over to Marshall.
Yeah, developing any product obviously has hiccups along the way, and I have 30 years of experience doing this, so I guess I'm just used to the hiccups, and you just do the best you can to get through them and come up with solutions. And I'm a problem solver, so that's what I do. I don't really have one specific problem to drill into, but
Yeah.
but yeah, we certainly had our share along the development route. There's nothing's easy. And just to expand a little bit on the hospitals, yeah, hospitals are extremely difficult to get into. But that being said, over the past 5 years, we've made extensive progress. We're in about 700 U.S. hospitals now that are actively using the TurtleTub. And so I feel like that's pretty darn good penetration for being an extremely small company and making inroads into the hospital market. And we've done that with good distribution partners, people that I've known for many, many years. Just gotten it into the right hands and just keep plugging away and staying focused. It's all about focusing on one market, and that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, no, it's pretty obvious from spending some time on your website and getting to know you at the neonatal, the NANT conference, and just seeing your products. I can see the focus, I can see the alignment, I can see the quality. So it's quite evident that it's not your first rodeo, as they say. And regardless of how many times you've been to the rodeo, especially in the healthcare system, it's its own
never the same rodeo.
It's never the same rodeo, and it's always like, have I been here before? I swear I've been here before.
Always a challenge.
It's always it's a challenge. But I know that we parents appreciate folks like you that are persistent in helping to find the best solutions for our preemies. And I think you mentioned that that you have distribution through hospitals, and obviously not all of them yet, but there is a way for consumers that if a parent wanted to, if they wanted to purchase the system themselves. Do you know if any of them have ever purchased and actually taken one into their NICU to introduce the TurtleTub system to their NICU?
I do think that's happened actually a few times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Some folks have wanted one, before they went in, and they actually purchased one and had it in the NICU. Yep.
Well, that's always an effective sales strategy.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely the ultimate Trojan horse.
Right.
Sure. But then you mentioned though that at some of the NICUs, like the actual tub is for a specific family, and so they have the opportunity to take it home.
Mm-hmm.
And and as we know, when we take our preemies home, oftentimes it's in or around their due date, and so there's still plenty of opportunity to have swaddle baths with their baby once they go home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, I tell you, we're going to, when we share this, we're going to include the link, so those that are parents, if they're interested, would be able to purchase, but also for the clinicians that are listening as well. Before we wrap up, is there anything that we haven't had a chance to discuss or talk about that you would want to make sure that we highlight, or that we do talk about before we wrap up our discussion today?
Maybe just one thing, and that just is ongoing education. We put a lot of effort into education, because I feel like the more parents know, the more they can broaden out the concept of, what would my infant be experiencing right now, and how can I change things to be this way, and or to give them similar experiences. And then with this TurtleTub and swaddle bathing in particular, we do have videos on how to do a swaddle bath, whether you're in the NICU,
awesome. Yep.
whether you're in the well baby unit, whether you're doing swaddle bathing at home. So if you want a step-by-step tutorial on how to do a swaddle bath, we do have those resources available for you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that, because that's as someone who uses YouTube to figure, videos to figure out all sorts of things, it's nice to be able to rewind, play it again, because for you, again, you and your peers, it's second nature. You do it all the time.
Right. Yeah.
You show a parent, you show them once, but they
Right.
need far more, many more reminders than that. So
yes, and it's a short little video, and
Yeah.
but it uses what you have here, so that's nice. Yeah. Mhm.
Awesome.
And then just not to forget the power of the parent. I mean, having worked in the NICU for a long time, medical advances have come far, but it just boils down to the power of the parent, starting with skin to skin holding, hand hugs, just learning how to understand the communication of your infant.
Yeah.
I mean, it truly is the power of the parent.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for all you do for our families, for our babies out there. We really, really appreciate all that you do. So thanks again for your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we wrap up today, I do want to take a moment to thank our longtime partner and supporter, Pampers, for their underwriting of today's healthcare industry chat. And thanks once again to Dana and to Marshall, and again to Pampers, and thanks to our Preemie parent community for placing your trust in us to provide you with the information and guidance to help you confidently navigate the journey of prematurity.